Hey, Cardinals fans, welcome to another episode of the Redbird Rundown. I am Jonathan, joined by Matt, and in this episode, we are going to talk about something extremely fascinating, which is a potential division realignment. Dun, dun, dun. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, so Andy, he's still not here. Why? It's been a week. What are we talking about here? Well, he's sick, and we are recording 2 of these episodes on the same day.
Yes.
As I will be out next week as we'd record due to some travel. So if something crazy happens and you don't hear us talk about Nolan Arenado being traded or something, it's because we are a week in the past. But we will pick up our normal highlights and walking through what you should look for next week and what you missed the following week. So that is why you will not hear Andy, and we are going to talk about this. But before we get into talking about this awesome idea, so I am now over the age of 30. Okay. Matt is still in the age of 30s.
I'm holding on barely.
He's holding on barely, right? Andy is as well. And I was thinking this week, there's some pitfalls to being in your 30s now, right?
Yes, there are.
So I have a few here, but let me kick it to you, Matt. What do you think? Because you have more experience.
Oh,
right,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
More experience.
I've been blazing the trail for everybody. Look, here's the thing. In like people that are older than you, they'll just kind of progressively tell you that like more things hurt, more things ache, you recover less quickly. And I'm like, great. I'm about to be 39. I just cannot wait to turn the corner. But like, here's what will happen is I'll wake up in the morning sometimes and my hip will hurt. And I really can't figure out why my hip hurts. And then sometimes like halfway through the day, it hits me, it clicks what I've done. And all I've done is I was just like standing in a line somewhere and standing funky. And then my hip will hurt for 3 days. And I'm like, man, this is really, which really makes me think like ancient times and stuff. I know this is way off the rails, but like warriors and things would fight in their 30s and 40s. And I'm just like, how?
I built different.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess so. That's just what your body gets used to. And so you do it. But like when Paul Goldschmidt starts to like slide into his late 30s, I'm like, I'm just glad the dude can walk to first base.
Listen, now you probably couldn't say the same thing about Yachty, because when Yachty got towards the end of his, you were like, this man looks like a grandfather. Like he's chasing after his children, his grandchildren.
Yeah, but I understood that. There's reasons why. Yeah.
And let's just say with Yachty, this guy's crouched squat for probably 135,000 hours in his life.
Oh, man. I crouched. I did the catcher squat to help a kid at school the other day. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to get back up. And I am not like a couch potato. Like, no, I do exercise. I'm on the exercise bike. I lift weights and stuff. But I was like, well, I just may stay here the rest of the day because I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah. I've always been an individual that when they run up the stairs or they go somewhere, like I'm cracking and popping everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Now, like when I go up the stairs, like it's very loud, like things are cracking. And I'll tell you, the thing I have noticed above all else is, this is the time to watch what you eat, people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It is going to catch up to you, and it is going to be really difficult to get that off of there.
Yes, it is.
So I just I look at all these things and I'm like, man, I want this. But I'm like, let's just remember, I'm not 22. I'm not 23, right? I need to be sure and watch it now because I know when I'm your advanced age.
Wow.
Maybe I'll be able to squat a little bit to help people.
Wow.
No. Yeah.
My biggest thing is like the girls will ask me, they'll like be, I don't know, building some Legos or something. And I will need to ask them where we are going to build because sometimes they'll just sit in the floor and do it. And there is something about sitting like hunched over in the floor that makes me hurt for like an entire week afterwards, because I guess it's not like a normal posture and you just don't bounce back as fast anymore. And so I avoid sitting in the floor, building Legos or doing anything at all costs. I'm just out.
I'm just going to go ahead and expand that. And like, whenever you sit on the ground anywhere, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. So I've watched Family Guy through the years. Really funny show if you're the right age to watch it. Right. They had a little bit on one of their characters is sitting on a blanket outside at a picnic.
Oh,
and it's like he for 2 minutes he's like, nope. Yep, this isn't comfortable. Switches. Yep, this isn't comfortable. And it's like, that's the truest thing in the world.
Because there's the truest thing in the world.
I don't care if you're sitting on carpet, hardwood, grass, doesn't matter. It sucks. Nope.
This position, your shoulder hurts. This position, your hip hurts. This position, your hamstrings hurt. It's just, it's bad. It's
Yeah.
bad.
So when you see, like the college videos, like the kids are studying in the quad, they're sitting on the grass. No, they're not. Nope, they're not doing that.
Let me tell you, they
Terrible.
ain't no doctorate students in their 30s laying on the quad in the grass unless they're doing some serious yoga that I'm just not doing or something. Because
the graduate student, they're in like the ergonomic chairs because they know, because they have to be.
They've got a little more money. They've got the zero gravity lawn chairs, as you should, because that's what you need to survive out there in the wild.
That is exactly right. Okay. All right. Let's get to this discussion about division realignment. So Chip Carey, that is our play-by-play announcer for the Cardinals, was chatting with Derek Gould, who is a reporter for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And there was a meeting with the MLB Players Association, and I think they were talking back and forth about different suggestions about the future for the game, for the players.
Shouts to the best podcast in baseball. This was an excellent discussion between Gould and Chip Carey, and you guys should honestly just go and listen to that too.
It was fascinating. So Chip, I guess, rose the idea of, hey, why don't we realign the divisions by economics, right? Yep. So what you talk about is right now, like the Cubs, the Cardinals, we know the divisions. I don't need to roll through those, but instead of the Dodgers smacking up on the Rockies multiple times a year,
yes,
right, you would have maybe the Dodgers are in a division with the Yankees or the Blue Jays, or right, teams that spend a ton of money, right? It would be easier for them to beat up on each other. And you're probably thinking, well, okay, why does this matter? Why do you want to do that? Well, it gives the small market teams like really us, the Brewers, the Reds, the Royals, those teams an opportunity. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of franchises actually.
There's way more than that spend what the Dodgers spend,
correct,
the Yankees spend.
Yes.
It gives them a guaranteed shot to make the playoffs.
Correct.
Right. So if you there's 6 teams to get to the playoffs, right? Well, 12. I'm sorry, 12. 6 from each conference, whatever you want to call it, league. If you section this out correctly, you could have 2 division winners could be the Miami Marlins and the Washington Nationals.
Yep.
Right now, that can't happen because they're in the same division.
Correct.
And 2, they would never, they're not going to overtake the behemoths in their division. So, Matt, you listened to the pod with Derek and Chip. What do you think about this?
I did. I listened to a lot of sports podcasts, and I love baseball, so I listened to a lot of baseball stuff. And I was honestly floored by this idea. And the thing that got me the most is I couldn't believe that I had never heard anybody talk about this idea before, to my knowledge. And maybe I've just missed something, and everybody's listening right now in their car like, what are you talking about? I cannot ever remember anybody else having an idea like this. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought like, oh my gosh, not only do I like this idea, this may be the answer to like kind of quote unquote save baseball as we know it, because we are I think we're headed towards some dark days in the MLB. And this would be a wonderful way to bring some parity to Major League Baseball. I do think we should mention too that Chip Carey was specifically talking about this idea because it's pretty clear that the MLB is going to expand by 2 franchises and go from 30 to 32 teams. So then you just get 8 4-team divisions. So we've played around with the divisions and we've mostly worked with like teams that are current and present. But if, for instance, you get the Nashville somebodies, or who knows, Andy's not on the pod, but the Louisville Cardinals, right? Or whatever expansion franchises you get, it just kind of gives an opportunity to, you're shaking things up, you're changing things anyway. So let's just do it by market size, right? Let's have apples against apples and oranges against oranges. And there is so much about this idea that I like.
Well, and I was talking about this the other week with, like, I was listening to the Marlins broadcast and they were so pumped. It was spring. It was new. Yes. It was like, everybody's got hope there in spring training, and it's exciting. And it's like, baseball needs, teams like the Marlins and the Rays. Now, the Rays have been successful on the field, but like the Marlins, like you need hope for these fan bases to, what if they make the playoffs? Like Chip made a great point about, March Madness, the Cinderella stories, the
ones. And everybody loves that. They love it.
My gosh, it's one of the biggest.
They love when the Yankees lose. They love when the Dodgers lose. They love these things. And I think it would be better to lose to the Rockies or the Marlins than if the Dodgers beat the Yankees, everybody's just like, okay, well, yeah, that's just how that works.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And I've been thinking about like how I walk through like some division realignment just in the teams that we have. But
Hmm.
before we get to that, I
Yeah.
what do you do? I was going to ask you this. What do you do about these fringe teams? Like I am looking at the payroll for this year for 2025. And I'm looking at some of these teams in like the 10 to 20 range.
Okay.
And like the Red Sox are number 11. The
Hmm.
Cubs are number 12. Seattle's number 16. Seattle hasn't spent like that much. The Twins are 17. My point is, what do you do about some of these fringe teams like that you'd think prolifically, in the past they'd spend a lot of money like Boston and Chicago? What do you think?
I think this is what you do. I think you do this by market size and not payroll spending, because this is what you get in baseball real bad. And you get this in every sport to a certain extent, but baseball is especially bad about this. You get like contention windows. So the Pirates are not always going to be in contention because of their market size and their payroll, and their owners are cheap and all that kind of stuff. But right now, when you've got Paul Skeens and Jared Jones, et cetera, you have seen them try to spend a little more in free agency, try to add a little more to their team because they're in this window. Well, when inevitably they have to trade Paul Skeens because of his contract and some big franchise comes, swoops in and gets him, right? Their payroll is going to go down. So I think you do it by market size. And what that means for like the Chicago White Sox is you guys are terrible, but you're going to be in with the big boys because you're in Chicago. You're in a
Yeah.
huge market. Your owners should be able to spend as though you're in a big market. And, sorry about it. That's just too bad.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what's interesting is I thought about that when you talk about like market size. So you're really talking about like, citizenship in your cities, like
Yeah.
people, just like the
TV
big
market
names. Yeah,
size.
yeah, yeah,
How
yeah.
much do you get off the TV contract?
Right,
Those kind of things really
right,
matter a lot in baseball.
right, right. And if you look at this, because I did this by payroll, what's fascinating is that if you look down from 1 to 30, it's a pretty good representation of your market size and who spends. Like the
Yes.
top 10 are, I guarantee you, they're most of these cities are in the top 10 in the United States. They
Yep.
are. So
Los
it's
Angeles, Houston, New
oh,
York, Chicago. That's it.
yeah.
The big boys.
So the ones that would be penalized in the way that you're talking about is like the White Sox, or specifically the White Sox, even the Rockies. Denver's a big area,
Okay.
right? The Rockies aren't going to spend as much. Well, that just means you're going to have to spend. So before, like again, like I said, before we get to the division, I have another question for you.
Okay.
If you do it by market size, and then there are owners that are still not motivated to spend, or that's the first like scenario. Second scenario is, what if you are Pittsburgh or Milwaukee, or you're some of these owners who just straight up cannot spend. Let's say there's a salary floor, they implement that, they got to spend, payroll's got to be $150 million, but these guys can't do it. What do you think about the NFL model of like sharing the heck out of all the money, right? So like the Dodgers, the revenue, right, with Shohei and like just owning Japan now, it's got to be through the roof.
Yes.
Well, what if you just divided that out evenly, and the Brewers could spend $225 million in payroll because Shohei has made everything better for baseball, not just the Dodgers? What do you think about that?
I would love to see some increased revenue sharing. And I don't know if you do it as you're suggesting, you do it dollar for dollar, but I think it would be good because we've talked about this on this podcast before. And I think baseball fans know this. You just have some mega franchises, 4 or 5 mega franchises that most franchises are just never, ever going to be able to spend to the level that they are. And to me, that's like eating away at the foundation of baseball. Those teams are not playing by the same rules as everybody else. Let me just give you a quick, for instance. If the Cardinals say, give Miles Michaelis a contract extension, and we're paying Miles Michaelis $18 million this year, that directly hinders our ability to go add some kind of $18 million option to our rotation. Whereas if you're the Dodgers, now credit to the Dodgers because they don't really miss, but just for instance, the Dodgers, some of these long-term contracts, if somebody's not good at the end of it, they can just eat that and then go ahead and go get another guy anyway. If we're honest with that, there's something about that that's kind of like a different sport. So
Yeah.
I don't know that all of this should just be wiped away because your team's in Los Angeles and your team is in Arlington, Texas. There are some differences there, but I would like it if things were closer together so that really what shines is managerial talent and player talent and scouting and development. Those are baseball things. How many people live in your city and how many TVs are on your team? those are not really baseball things. Those are economic things. And to me, that is what's dominating baseball right now
Yeah,
is
yep.
economics.
You're absolutely right. I mean, this is the thing. Like, look at Roki Sasaki.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, he was the number one pitcher coming out of Japan this last year. And the Dodgers signed him, but the Padres could have offered him more money. There are other teams that could have offered him more money.
Yes.
Because there's a special signing bonus you get, signing pool of money you get to use to sign these international free agents. Well, why did Sasaki take less money and go to the Dodgers? Because they're the Dodgers. You want to play with Shohei. You want to play with all these stars, and they have proven to, they're going to pay you no matter who's on your team, and you're going to have a winning product. You're going to be on a winning team.
Yeah.
So to your point, it's like, what in the world do the Pirates do with Paul Skeens? What do they do? They're not going to sign him to this deal unless, say, the Pirates offer him like 180 million. That's a huge deal for them, probably the biggest in their history.
It is,
right? The Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers can say, buddy, we'll give you double that. And that they can just do it because they have this advantage.
This is the single thing that I like the most about this system is if the apples are playing the apples and the oranges are playing the oranges. And I realize that these divisions are going to play each other too. You're not taking that out of baseball, and that should also be there. But I think this really incentivizes those small and mid-market teams. I think they'll be incentivized to spend a little more and to try a little harder on their roster because it's just like a learned helplessness of the Dodgers are spending $350 million and deferring it. So like at some point for the Rockies, no, your owner's not going to spend because you're not in contention. But let's say, for instance, that the Pirates are in a lower market size division and they start to win and they get a tradition of winning. Mm-hmm. Well, why did Sasaki go to the Dodgers? They win. And so would Paul Skeens, if their playoff games and those yellow terrible towels are going crazy in Pittsburgh and you've got the culture, really what we're talking about is you're talking about the Cardinals of a winning tradition, a winning culture. And we've never been the biggest market franchise, but we were always able to pull above our weight because we had that winning tradition. I think it would be wonderful for some of these other mid-market teams like us to develop these winning traditions. And it's entirely possible that you could be keeping some of these guys.
And that's where I say, I believe it has to be a two-pronged approach. It has to be. I love Chip's idea of, because really it's not for the regular season per se. Right. It is and it isn't, because they have done a good job of helping some of this, because now it's all like interleague plays year round. You play everybody.
Unbalance the schedule. You play everybody. Correct.
Right. So like, for example, all those years when the Reds were in the basement, the Cardinals would play the Reds like 18 times a year. Okay, well, that's not necessarily good representation.
Stock up on wins. Yeah.
Like you'd go play somebody else in the playoffs and be like, oh, maybe we're not as good as these teams.
Yeah.
We're just playing a bunch of teams that are lesser than us. Well, that's what I'm saying is if you do that, 3, 4, maybe even 5 teams possibly, well, probably 4 would get in that are not, there's not a shot in the world they do it now.
Right.
And that's where I think that really shores up that angle. And then the revenue sharing and allowing these other teams to spend the money, because that is something, what Chip's idea, that's not going to fix that. I know it's not meant to, right? But that's the next biggest thing. Like there's 2 things on the horizon for the MLB. This is one of them. And the other one is, how do you stop these huge markets with these owners who don't care about spending to just sign everyone?
Correct. Can I give you a couple things that I'm unsure about before we start talking divisions? This will be a radical change, and sometimes people don't like radical change. And I think that this idea is basically dead on arrival, because the owners would have to approve something like this, and the big boys are never going to. Why would they approve this, right? And so I do wish there was a way sometimes for there to be, like, the MLB commissioner was like an MLB dictator for a year, and he just does this. And so if the big boys don't like it, they just don't like it, and they complain about it, and the fans are mad, and that's fine. But we got to do this for the betterment of the game. Here's one thing is, I think you would be busting up some traditional rivalries. I'm not certain that I think the Cardinals and the Cubs are going to end up in the same division anymore. And while I think that's too bad, look, here's the thing. We only did this by geography because of like the travel restrictions of when baseball was coming up. We don't nearly have those travel restrictions anymore. Right. You are going to see increased travel times. You're going to see more flight miles, but these guys are on chartered planes and they have team cooks and trainers. And I'm not super worried about that. So why are we hindering ourselves from circumstances that, you know what I mean? Like we're ruling the major leagues by geographical things from 80 years ago, and the Cardinals will still play the Cubs. And guess what? There'll be new traditions and there'll be new things. And I think that would also be good for bringing in some people. So I am unsure about it for that reason, but I think live on air, I've just kind of talked myself through, like, I think it would be okay.
I do, but there's not a shot in the world that the Mets are going to be like, yeah, put me in the division with the Dodgers and the Yankees.
No, of course not.
No, but that's when
that's exactly what it should happen, though.
I agree. And you know what's so funny as I'm looking through these divisions that we'll go through is regionally, they're really not that bad.
Okay.
They're really not. Now, there are the first couple are like, they're the big ones, but everybody else is kind of smack in the middle. And it's like, that is not that bad.
Yeah.
Like, I know we're not taking coaches and trains anymore, but like, you could fly there and it wouldn't be horrible.
Let me give you one more, and then I want you to hit me with your divisions.
Please.
Does this feel too much like soccer somehow? Like European soccer, like you have the Premier League, and I don't know much about soccer, and they have the next league down, the next league down, the next league down. Does it feel too much like that? Or is it okay because it's really still all part of the MLB, and you still all play each other, and it's okay?
That's the thing, is that if you remove playing everyone, that's when it's because the Premier League and the Champions League and the whatever league, those are all, they don't play each other, right? You eventually win enough and you might, like, I think,
move up or
elevate.
Move down. Yeah.
Now it's like, it doesn't matter. The Mets will play the Marlins on opening day.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You're just not, it's all about getting into the playoffs. The Marlins are going to get absolutely walloped by the Mets. But you know who they could compete with? The Reds.
Sure.
The Rays.
Sure. Stand a better chance. Spend more money.
You got a division race and the Marlins get in there, and then you're playing playoff games down there. Because listen, I keep saying the Marlins. You and I have been to their park. It's a sad state of affairs.
It is a sad state of affairs.
The World Baseball Classic was played there, and it was rocking. And it's like, what if you could do that for these teams?
Yes.
It'd be like cool to be a Marlins fan and not, they're just like the butt end of every joke. That sucks for them.
Yep. And for the people who are just screaming right now, can I just say this? Everybody's favorite sports league in the country, the NFL, they already kind of do this because your schedule, you play a first, if you finish in first place, you play a first place schedule the next year, and the last place team plays a last place schedule. So they do this worse than baseball. And everybody loves the NFL. And I realize that we've seen the entrenchment of some really good teams like the Patriots and the Chiefs, and maybe to a little bit lesser extent, the Eagles. So you're just kind of always going to have that. But guess what? That's because they identified a quarterback and they drafted him. And that's how sports works. And so if the NFL can do this and try to drive parity, then I don't understand why it's some like holy sin for baseball to do something like this, because the NFL is a juggernaut.
I mean, Chip also said something. I agree with what you just said. Chip said something where he said, like, we are kind of chained to the past. Like we're never gonna go forward and make new, historical things and firsts and new memories and new traditions. And
this is coming from a guy whose family has been in baseball for 100 years.
Yeah, he's exactly right. I mean, if you look back in baseball history, there's a ton of firsts, right? A ton.
Yes.
So the league needs to grow, and I think this would be a great opportunity to do that, because the thing that I think above else that you nailed it when you said it was these teams in these divisions have this learned helplessness.
Yes.
And it's very similar. We'll do another NBA reference here to when the Golden State Warriors were so dominant for all those years that I remember hearing, reading, reporting where if you were in the Western Conference where they were and you weren't close to contending, even close at all, you just were tanking.
You
the
just
best draft
kept
picks.
your head down, right? Because it wasn't your window.
You can have 3 or 4 good players on your team, and you look at it and you're like, well, we're not going to stack up against Draymond Green and Stephen Curry and all these people. You're just not going to.
Yeah.
Right. So that is a huge thing that would eliminate this. Is that, hey, the Reds have a shot this year. You know what I'm mean? Saying? Like that. Yeah. Anything can happen in baseball. Yeah. That would be awesome. So
I know this is this is a radical idea, but I am just live on air falling in love with this idea more as we keep talking about it. I really am.
Me too.
It's great.
I'm interested to see what you think about where the Cardinals land in these divisions.
Okay. I can't wait for these.
All right. So division number 1, this is kind of top to bottom, like I did it with payroll, but I didn't just do like the first 5 teams. I
did it by geography a little bit,
and I also did it from my own like understanding of teams. So you'll see. Okay.
All right.
So division 1, I have the Mets, the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Yankees, and the Red Sox.
Woo, boy.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Now, the Red Sox are the ones. The Red Sox were 11th in spending, but historically,
Yes.
they're going to spend. So
They-
like nobody's going to bat an eye if that is one of the
Correct.
divisions.
Yep.
That division sucks. I
Ooh,
mean,
boy.
that is now geographically that one's rough. West Coast, East Coast. There's nothing you can really do about it when you talk about that. The premier guys who are going to spend.
Yes.
But good Lord, one team wins that division.
Ah. Here would be my only other question that I'm just thinking about right now.
Yeah.
What if all 5 of those teams win in the 90s of games? Because they're going to keep playing these other divisions.
Sure.
And the division winner of, I don't know, wherever the Rays are at and the A's wins like 78 games. Do you put in a 78 win team over a 95 win team? That would be the only. Now, that might collapse this whole system in on itself. But maybe as we're talking through this over time, those lower market teams, right? They find ways to get better because there's more incentive for them to try.
It's better. You get better from incentive and you get better from the money sharing, the financial sharing.
Okay.
I think you got to have that with this so they can actually like sign other people. Because what if Mookie signed with the Rockies because they could spend it?
Right. Yes.
It provides a little more parity. And I agree with you. That's going to be tough to swallow. But guess what? 78 wins was good enough for that division. If you wanted to win in this one, you should have won 125
Yep.
instead of 119.
Yep.
You know?
Well, but as far as like driving interest, are you kidding me? The Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Red Sox in one and same division. Can you imagine that division race? Can you imagine those fan bases? Those are the biggest fan bases by number in MLB, and they are going to be locked all summer on their teams. So that is a great way to drive some interest and some numbers.
It is. So that's the first like.
And some money.
Yeah, no kidding. 5-star, 5-tier, highest payroll.
Okay.
So number 2, it starts to get a little interesting.
All right.
So Blue Jays,
okay,
Rangers, Braves, Padres, Cubs.
Okay.
So I would not have guessed that the Blue Jays are 5th in payroll. Would you have guessed that?
I just kind of knew that because I have sort of paid attention to them a little bit. But
okay.
You're right. As far as I don't have a good idea of how big Toronto is as a geographic location, but you're right. They seem to be swinging above their weight too. But yeah, I think that division has a lot of good teams in it, and that would be tough, which means the competition would be good, which again means I think for a very exciting division.
I think I should have said this on the first division. The weakest team that I see would be the Red Sox, just the first division. Would you agree with that between the other ones? Maybe the Phillies, maybe the Red Sox. Those are the 2 lowest.
Well, right now, but I mean, 10 years ago, the Yankees or the Red Sox won their 3rd World Series title.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
Some of it's cyclical, and the Dodgers went forever for not being good. So again, it's more about how much can you spend, and those are still going to have cycles even within them.
So, and that's a good point. So like in this division, if you did this today and you're the owner of the Cubs, you better buck up, dude, because you're spending the lowest in your division here, and you are in the 3rd largest city in America.
Yes.
When the Cubs wake up, it's going to be a sad day.
The Ricketts, is that still who owns the Cubs?
I think it is. Yeah.
Okay. They are just loving the NL Central, the sweet bliss of the NL Central. And by the way, if we're talking about soft divisions, I mean, the NL Central and the AL Central are just kind of always soft divisions. So you already have this in the MLB anyway. You have your division winner winning 88 games, and you have a wild card winning 97. And we do that now. We don't blink an eye at it now. So I think some of this stuff already happens.
Yep. So that's another bit of a bloodbath there. Now, I know that travel-wise, the Padres, they're in a bad spot, and you can't put them in that first division with the Dodgers. I just think that's too tough.
Yep.
Okay, division number 3. This one geographically makes a ton of sense. Astros, Angels, Diamondbacks, Giants, Mariners.
Oh, yeah.
They all spent and have historically spent pretty close to one another.
Yes.
You're not, Houston's the furthest away there, but those are all, now people probably be like, the Angels, they're terrible. The Angels, poor guys, they have terrible contracts right now.
Yeah.
But they can spend and have spent.
They spend big. Yes. They just have spent poorly.
Correct.
Yeah. I think this division is cool too, because these are like, to me, the teams that always come in second place in the free agency stuff, the derbies. And so I think one of 2 things could happen is maybe they push it just a little bit more to get some of these guys. And also maybe some of these elite guys don't want to go into the monster division, from the coast. and maybe you got a better opportunity to win here. And so you get some talent moving away from just these behemoths all the time.
Well, and you just that sparked something else. Like the Dodgers, I just said Sasaki goes to the Dodgers because he can win there.
Yeah.
Would he do that again if you're in the division with the Mets, Phillies, Yankees, and Red Sox?
Which it's harder to make the playoffs for the Dodgers. Yeah, maybe
harder to make
he's on the Mariners right now, right? Like,
but that's what if you're if you're the MLB, don't you want that?
Yes, you do.
Don't you want parity? That's what everybody was grilling back to the NBA, the Warriors for all those years.
Yep.
This sucks. It's just going to be Warriors and the Cavs. It's not fun.
Bring it up again. The most popular league in the country by a mile, the NFL. Yeah. Their rules are built for parity. Yes, you want this. Yes, you want each fan base to have guys that they love. And I know they have that now, but like, yes, you want this. You want all major league teams competing. That's what you want.
Yeah, I mean, if like you're Cincinnati and you have Joe Burrow, you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, of course.
That's what you'd want over here. So, okay.
Yep.
Division number 4. This is our division.
Okay.
So you have Royals, Cardinals, Tigers, Twins, Orioles.
Oh, Orioles. Yeah. Okay.
That one hurts a little bit.
It does, but for now, I mean, the Orioles were terrible and I think the Orioles were terrible for years, in part because they were in the NL East and they just can't click it on all the time. But here's the deal: in this division, from where the Orioles are starting out, I hate to talk about the Orioles and not the Cardinals, right? But they have this stockpile of young talent, and if they're always in it and they don't have to chase down the Yankees some years, they may up their spending some. And maybe the Cardinals maybe the DeWitts could, if I hear the word puke point again, I am going to puke. Maybe the Cardinals would occasionally go past their puke point and get one of these guys, because you have to. You're not competing with the Reds and the Brewers all the time. You got to spend a little bit more money. And guess what? We can.
Because and this is where I thought this was fascinating, is really so far, and I know it's about payroll and how much they've spent, but like you think about the teams and the talent and where they've been in the playoffs the last couple of years. Orioles, Twins, Tigers, Cardinals, Royals feels competitively pretty close.
It does. And all those have made the playoffs, and all those have had measures of success. And we've seen it recently. So far, everything, I mean, I think we're getting ready to get to the trash cans here.
Yeah.
But everything that you've read me so far, I'm just like, man, that's a really good tight race.
I was going to say, it feels, that's why I thought it was, because I did this myself originally. And I was like, what would I do?
Yeah.
And then when I looked at payroll, and I know that's just a very small snapshot in time, I was like, okay, if I move this around and this around, maybe it makes a little more sense. I was pretty shocked at how closely the payroll indicated how like competitive they are. Because I don't hate that division as Cardinals fans. The Orioles one scares me, but we are as competitive as the other teams in that.
That is correct. Yep,
100%. Okay.
Yep.
Like you said, we're getting into the doldrums here. The 5th one,
the new Rockies, NL and AL Central. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah,
the NL basement. Rockies, Reds, Nationals, Brewers, Guardians. See, you thought it was going to be terrible. That is a rough division if you're the Rockies, because you got to spend. You got to do something, because the Reds, they look like feistier this year. The Brewers, all they do is, make. They
have stolen our devil magic. Yes.
Yep. And then the Guardians, super smart.
They also have the devil magic. Yeah.
Yeah. So Rockies, Reds, Nationals, Brewers, Guardians.
You know what, though? That is another division with teams that have been successful again. Like,
I know
these are better. I think these are better than what we have by quite a bit. And there have been times when the Nationals, again, within their title contention stuff, they have really spent too. So they can.
Think about this. If you're the Nationals right now, why would you put your foot on the gas pedal and try to compete?
No, exactly. You're never catching the Braves. You're right. And they're playing this long game down the road. But if you're in this division, you know, and you can get one or two more pieces and maybe, but again, isn't that what we want? Do we want minor league teams and we want the Dodgers? We don't want that. And so if there's more competition, that's better for everybody.
The Nationals are not going to chase down the Braves, the Phillies, the Mets, for goodness sake.
Yeah, that's terrible.
So think about this. They're in the 5th of 6 divisions, okay? And the other guys in their division now are in the 1st and the 2nd. So think about the disparity between those.
Exactly.
It's so bad. So if you're the Nationals, you feel like, listen, I think we could play with the Brewers. And now, are the Brewers going to pull out some devil magic? Who knows? But I think this is a competitive one too. Now,
I do too.
The last one is
this one.
Could you guess the last one?
Do you think you can guess? I mean, I haven't been writing anything down, but yeah, let me take a run at it.
Take a crack.
A's, Rays.
Yep.
I We'll just spare me. Just hit the rest of them.
White Sox, Marlins, Pirates.
Woo, boy. Okay, but
yeah,
the Rays have been good recently. The Pirates have been good within the last 10 years. The A's have been good within the last 10. Again,
Yeah.
I still think if these teams have a shot, then I love this idea. I'm ready to like petition Manfred myself and like get the president involved, whatever we have to do. Like, let's just get this going. I love this.
I agree. If I was a fan of any of these teams down in here, I would be, again, pushing all for this because you feel like you actually have a chance.
That's correct.
You feel like you have something to play for, and it's not the dog days of summer and July, and you're already 73 games back.
Yep.
And there's nothing to go for, and
you start trading your guys, and you all that stuff. And so these lower level franchises just become farm systems for the big boys again and again. Yeah. We need to starve some of them, and guess what? If they're all starved at that top of that division, it just levels everything. I love this. I absolutely am head over heels and love this. Just shouts to Chip Carey. What a great idea.
I was going to say Chip really nailed this one.
He did this.
He did. The only other thing I thought about this is right now, 12 teams get in the playoffs.
Okay.
Right? 6 from each league, 3 division winners on each, 3 wild cards.
Did you take it to 16?
That's what I'm saying. What if you expanded that? What would that do? Would it hurt? I don't think so.
I don't know how it hurts. It's not gonna. This is gonna roil up the traditionalists,
Yeah, it is.
But again, the NBA has 16 teams go to the playoffs, and the NBA is just fine. So you just adjust. You just do something different. To me, you give more fan bases hope. You get more fan bases trying, because here's the difference. You get in the MLB playoffs and anything can happen. The NBA playoffs, there's like 4 teams that are probably going to win the title, and that's about it this year. But I mean, anybody could win the World Series in baseball.
I totally agree with you. And I think like the model you're looking for is March Madness, but not to this ridiculous degree.
Correct.
But that's do or die, one game, that's it. Right?
Yes.
Like to your point in baseball, you're playing an entire series. What if somebody heats up? What if they don't?
Yep.
It's endless what you could do. I would love to see it 4 more teams. Why not? Now, those 4 teams could come from the higher divisions I've just mentioned because they're going to win more games. But if that's the case, it's just more parity. I think that's really all we're trying to say is that when you give other teams more of an opportunity to play in the dance, you just never know. You could have a Brewers Marlins World Series. Can you imagine that? That would be absolutely.
That'd be really bad for the ratings. But
yeah,
I don't know. If they won, they won. That's sports. That's how it works.
Yeah, I love it. I love Chip's idea. I really hope they do something because we have just started to get like break the tip of the iceberg on how bad this could get with the Mets, the Dodgers, the Yankees. I know everybody's like, well, look at the early on, like the Yankees of yesteryear with George Steinbrenner, and they were literally just buying everyone. In the early 2000s, nobody would believe that it happened, right? They're spending $150 million over the next team. Listen, I'm here to tell you that what's happening today is worse than that by a large degree because you're just now starting to see this. Shohei did something that has never happened before. And when players start to sacrifice money to help these teams, you are going to the league as we know it will change.
Yep. It already is under our feet.
Yep.
And I think you're going to get a increased sense of realization and couple that on top of the splintering of sports media and kids just not paying as much attention to baseball. You have to do everything you can do to give as many franchises hope as you possibly can. And guess what? There are still going to be cycles of contention, and these teams are going to be bad sometimes, and that's baseball, and that's how that works. But like what you want is you want more teams in the upper 80s in wins and not 5 teams with 105 wins. That's what you want. You just want better competitive baseball and the teams being better. And you don't want a Dodgers on one end and White Sox on the other end. You just don't want it.
That's a beautiful bow. I agree. Chip, if you're listening, we know you're probably an avid listener.
Chip, come on the pod.
Please.
We will praise you to high heavens.
Put them buttery smooh pipes on these airways. Please.
That's right.
But thank you for that idea. This was a fun conversation, and I hope they do it. So thanks for tuning in, as always, to the Redbird Rundown, your go-to source for St. Louis Cardinals news. Subscribe and rate and review the show to help us grow so that Chip Carey will actually listen to it. Follow us on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Facebook for all the latest content there. And of course, keep your rally caps on and let's go Cards in a better division. Woo!